This is the Budget Minded Traveler Podcast, Episode 10.
Welcome to the Budget Minded Traveler Podcast, your source for the tips and tactics that will inspire and equip you to travel the world. And the best part, it won't break your bank. And now, the Budget Minded Traveler herself and your host, Jackie IRL.
We're so grateful to Osprey Packs for partnering with us and supporting the podcast, so please stay tuned for more about them later on. I have an opportunity for you to join me in real life for some real travel. Here's the latest Jump Adventures update. We are going to Greece for a bike and boat island hopping adventure this May 9th to 16th, 2025, and we still have space left. Check out jumpadventures.com to learn more and book now. We're going to have a yacht all to ourselves with ensuite cabins on board, so you get to sleep in the same bed every night as we start in Athens and make our way west toward the island of Corfu. You'll have your own bike for the week, e-bike if you want one, for cycling the islands as we go, in between meals crafted by our private chef on board, and all the relaxing you want to do on the top deck under the Mediterranean sun. These bike and boat adventures are our most carefree and relaxed trips. All you have to do is say yes and show up, and there's still space. Head over to jumpadventures.com to grab your spot now, and we'll see you there. Hey guys, how's it going today? Thanks for tuning in to the Budget Minded Traveler Podcast, episode number 10. We have made it to the double digits, which is exciting. Even though it's only 10 episodes, I think there is going to be much more of a celebration when I get to 100. But for now, yes, we've made it to number 10, and this is actually a special episode, and I am really excited about it because I think a lot of you are going to relate to my guest that I have on the show today. She is a first-time traveler, and I know a lot of you are planning your first trip or have only maybe gone abroad once or twice and still have some fears about traveling internationally. And so my guest today, her name is Andrea DeNucci. She actually just turned 30 years old and just took her first trip outside of the US. And so she's coming on the show today to share with you guys what her fears were, how she overcame them, and what her trip was actually like. And now on the other side of it, how she feels about travel. And she has a few words of advice for you, which are awesome. So I'm especially excited to get into that today because I know a lot of you guys are going to be able to benefit from it and probably relate to her pretty well. So we've got that interview, and then also at the end of this episode, I have a gift for you. So be sure you stick around to hear what that is. And I guess on that note, we'll just go ahead and get right into the interview. So here we go. Okay, let's go ahead and bring Andrea DeNucci onto the show. Andrea, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me, Jackie.
Good. No, it's great to have you here. I'm so excited to have a first-time traveler. I think that a lot of people on this show are going to be able, or who listen to the show are going to be able to relate to you really well. And I cannot wait to hear about how your trip went and everything. So I know that you hadn't really traveled before, right? What was your situation leading up to your first trip?
Yeah. Well, first off, I grew up in Minnesota. My family, we would always just kind of stay within the United States. My parents have actually never been outside of the country. So traveling abroad was never really something that I knew to do, nor did I grow up doing. So yeah, I always, had friends that would go abroad, and I became interested once, I got older.
But you had never gone anywhere?
No, never. My sister actually spent a year in New Zealand, and I was really jealous. So I was like, if she's doing this, I think I deserve a trip.
Yeah. So what ended up being the deciding factor? What made you decide that it was time for you to travel internationally?
Well, I had friends who traveled after college, just kind of took a year off, did it for themselves. I had friends that went and worked abroad, and that's just not my personality, I guess. It was more, I graduated and I go find a job. And so for me, I needed to go do something for myself. And I knew that if I didn't go do it, then I wouldn't go do it. And so it's kind of just like, go, or who knows when you're going to go.
Okay. And when did you have that realization? Was that just last year, or when?
Yeah, no. Okay. I mean, it was kind of in the making for a couple of years, but I became really serious about it last year. And I love my job, but I just needed to go do something for myself. I've never taken a trip for myself, let alone by myself. And so I just knew that I just had to go do this. There were things in my life that, were kind of up in the air as far as like, was I going to leave Bozeman, or was I going to stay at the same job? But this was one thing that I was certain that like I just had to go do.
Yeah. I think that's awesome, because obviously it was speaking loudly to you that it's something you need to take action and do.
Yep. And I mean, there were a lot of, things that were crossing my mind just because this is so out of my element. Change is kind of hard for me, and people that can literally just pack up and go, like buy a plane ticket and they're gone the next week. That's just so like, I get kind of anxious about that kind of stuff. And so for me, I knew I had to go do it. I set the date, and then, I had a couple months before I left, but, so it wasn't so like, okay, you're buying the ticket, you're leaving in 2 weeks. Yeah. I had a couple months. And so I think that helped too, to plan. And so I didn't feel rushed just because, this was my first time going overseas. Right.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, because I know you did go by yourself. And you say it's something you needed to do for yourself. So I'm assuming that was intentional, that you wanted to do it alone.
Yeah. And, if someone would have been like, oh, Andrea, I want to go with you, I wouldn't have been opposed to that. But there's that feeling of doing something by yourself and like overcoming that. 'Cause it was a fear. Like, I'm going to Thailand by myself. What is going to happen once I'm there? I don't really know the language.
And by really, you mean not at all?
No, like maybe 2 words on my language app on my phone. And I wanted to just do something by myself, be on my own time, not have anyone, be there and kind of have to adapt, to this new thing with them. Like, I wanted to just feel that moment of overcoming something, and travel was that for me.
I think that's awesome, because that can be a really big fear. But so I know that you went on an REI tour, and is that because you were going alone? Did you want to join a tour specifically because you didn't really know what you were doing, or what was the reason for choosing the tour?
I mean, it kind of helped, like, for me, finding the REI tour. I mean, REI Adventures, they go all over the world. And so I knew where I wanted to go. I wanted to go to Thailand. And for a single female traveling for the first time by herself, it was nice to have the planning already done once I got there. So, I flew over by myself, had a day by myself, and then I was with them for like a week and a half. And then I did 3 days by myself down in Krabi. But the REI tour, I mean, I cannot say enough good things about that. And it was nice to have a group of people all there doing things that you love together. And not to mention, you're meeting people from all over the country and world. So it was nice to have that to share the experience with, and know that, like, okay, these people are all in the same boat that I am. I mean, not necessarily like traveling for the first time, but, over there, and we're all together.
And out of your element, and et cetera. Yeah. Yeah.
And I decided on it just by kind of researching, different adventures that go over to Thailand, and found them. And, it was biking, kayaking, hiking, and I love to do all of those things. So
yeah, that does sound really fun.
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out really good to do the group tour. I mean, I don't know if I would necessarily go back to Thailand again and do the group tour, but for a first time traveler, I think it was the way to go. But I might be biased.
Yeah. And did you notice, you were on a group tour, but did you notice that were there other people that were traveling by themselves as well? Did you find that you weren't the only one like by yourself there?
Yeah. My roommate was actually traveling by herself. I was the only person in the group who, was a first-time traveler. Mm-hmm. So when I told people that, I mean, they were kind of shocked, like, whoa, how did you choose Thailand? Like,
yeah.
You know,
well, it's really far away and really foreign. So I can understand
it totally
that.
is. And especially if I like didn't know the language before. I mean, it was kind of shocking to them. Like, wow, I can't believe you're here traveling by yourself, and
yeah,
good for you. There were solo travelers though in the group. The majority of people were there, couples, but, yeah, my roommate was a solo traveler. We got, partnered together, and then there were 4 other solo travelers. So
your group was pretty small actually, right?
There were, about 12 people.
Okay. And that's pretty good, because I think a lot of people, when they think of, tour travelers, they might think of giant buses just packed with people with the same color umbrella and,
fanny packs.
And that's just not how it was for you guys.
No. And it was so like, it wasn't as planned as people probably think. I mean, you would wake up and you'd do breakfast and you'd do the activity and then you'd, eat dinner, but it wasn't like 8 to 9 we're doing this, and 10 to 11 we're doing this. It was very laid back, and if you didn't want to do something, you didn't have to go do it.
Yeah. That sounds like a pretty good opportunity for a solo traveler, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they gave you enough independence where you didn't feel like you were being like babysat. Like you have to go here and you have to go there. I definitely felt like in control of what I wanted to do.
That's good. I mean, we're all adults, so yeah. And
they always
good to be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah, they always said, this is your vacation. You are in charge. If you don't want to go hiking, then don't go hiking.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'm going to change gears a little bit here. How did you, if you don't mind sharing with us, I am interested in how much you spent, how long you went, and how you were able to save for this trip. How did you fund it?
To be honest, I am not good at saving at all. It's always been a struggle of mine. The trip for me over there, the plane ticket was around like $1,200. And then the REI portion was $2,500. And so I think total, because REI covered, lodging and then meals and then, all the rental equipment for the activities that we did. Mm-hmm. So total, I would say around $4,000 for everything.
And how long were you gone?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. Yeah. So I think that gives people a pretty good idea, because obviously a tour is going to be more expensive than doing it yourself.
Exactly. And
so that's going to be a good reference point for listeners to understand how much it would cost to do that. So
yeah. And for Thailand is so cheap, and you know that.
Yes.
I mean, you get over there and you just don't know. I mean, it is so cheap. $12 for like a 3-course meal, and
12 is a lot, honestly. Like,
yes.
My husband and I went there on our honeymoon, and we would dine for $5. I mean, not like wine and dine, at a nice place, but like we'd get good pad thai and like good curries, and we would spend $5.
Yeah, and you're in Thailand. I mean, for me, just being over there, I would have to pinch myself and be, am I really here? Is this really happening? Like, I was soaking up every moment, because
that's so awesome.
Yeah. First off, you don't know when you're going to go back. And second, it's just such an amazing experience over there.
Yeah. Well, I think as a first time traveler, you'd probably feel that wherever you were, really, in a new culture for the first time, which actually gives me another idea for a question for you is, did you have any fears going into this trip before you left?
A ton of fears. First off, I was so anxious. I didn't know. I mean, with REI, they told you that, if you're a solo traveler, they're going to pair you up with, another solo traveler. So I was anxious about who my roommate was going to be. I mean, it like brings you back to the college phase where you're like, oh my gosh, who is my freshman roommate? Is this person going to be cool? Am I going to like, so there were those thoughts circulating in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just traveling over to this foreign country, getting there on the plane, switching planes in Tokyo, and how am I going to get money out? And is my cell phone going to work? And what are the people going to be like towards me? I mean, all those factors were taking over my head before I left. And it was, obviously I was beyond excited for this trip, but there were fears, you just don't know. You don't know what it's going to be like.
It's the unknown. You're going into the unknown. So yeah.
Yeah. And someone told me, just take it one step at a time. Just take everything one step at a time. It will all work out. If a hiccup comes along, which there were some hiccups, just move on. And remember, like, you're in Thailand.
Right.
Like, just enjoy yourself and like take it all in. And your fears, like, you will overcome your fears. I mean, it was just going to happen. People are going to get like that. They're going to be anxious about traveling, and just everyone has to know those things are normal. Absolutely.
I mean, and those hiccups that you're referring to, those happen on every trip. They always happen. And it's one of those things where you just, having a title of traveler doesn't suddenly make you better at those things. Like, everyone is resourceful. You run into the same kind of problems at home. It's like, just because you're in a new country in a different place doesn't mean this problem is any different from something you could handle at home. Yep. And so that's what you just take it with your own resourcefulness and get through it.
Exactly. And
but a lot of people are afraid of those things.
It was funny because I had a layover in Salt Lake, and so I had to, and it was on a smaller plane, and so from Bozeman to Salt Lake. So I had to put my pack, I had to give it to them to put it under the plane because it was too big for the overhead. So I'm waiting for my bag to come up, and all of a sudden I noticed my water bottle's missing, and I was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, this is the start of my trip. I'm missing my water bottle. Like, what else is going to happen to me? And that was the only thing I lost the whole trip.
Wow. And I mean, so the airline, they lost your water bottle, obviously.
Yeah, but it's so dumb because it's like, if that's the only thing that happened, well, not happened, but that I lost on the trip, I mean, that's pretty good.
It is. And that's one of those things, that, you can choose to have that ruin your day, and you can look for the negative after that. Or you can say, you know what? It's just a water bottle. I'm going to go on without it. And hopefully it's just a water bottle and not like your passport or something.
I know. I was telling someone that, and they're like, it could have been, and it could have been in your whole pack, could have been stolen, and I was like, no, that's true. Like, it definitely all worked out. So
well, good. We'll come right back to that. Let's take a moment now to thank our wonderful show sponsors. Osprey is the market leader in technical outdoor, travel, and everyday packs. And I've personally used Osprey packs since 2015. My favorites are the Fairview Trek 50 for multi-day hikes, the Cirrus 24 for day hikes, the Transporter Rolling Duffel 60, which is my trusty check luggage for faraway adventures, and of course, the countless packing cubes I use to organize everything that goes in them. We are proud to support each other on the podcast and beyond. We love getting outside, and we want to see more people outdoors. So find out more and join us at osprey.com. So question for you. I know that you have read The Aspiring Traveler's Handbook, which for anyone listening, if you don't know what that is, that's the book that I wrote actually, for first time or inexperienced travelers. And so Andrea, I want to ask you, how did this book help prepare you, and did it help to dispel any of the fears that you had? I'm really curious if it's doing its job.
To all of the listeners out there, it was like the saving grace for me, because travel for me was not like, it didn't exist. I mean, like I said earlier, I had never, traveled outside of the United States, and everything was so foreign. And reading this book made me more confident to go over and travel by myself. There are so many things behind the scenes that you don't even think of that this book tunes into. And I would say for me, packing, I've packing for me has been a struggle. And
for most people, it really is.
Yeah. I mean, you're always packing more than you need, and you're wearing, 3 things when you pack about 20. And so
exactly
packing like less is more. And I only
that sounds familiar.
I don't know. I wonder where I got that from. For me, I only brought a pack, and that was one of the best decisions I made for the trip. I did not check a bag, and I am so happy I didn't. Obviously, bringing one pack, you are very limited, and especially for planes. I mean, planes are becoming, the restrictions aren't as big as they used to be. So the size of your pack cannot be as big. And that was definitely something that this book helped on, as well as, money. How am I going to get money once I'm there, once I land? Where am I going to exchange money? Those are all questions.
Like simply like the ATM thing and
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There were just so many little things that you touch on in that book that I would have never thought of, like, ever. And even just cell phone stuff, Can you use your cell phone over there? You don't know.
Yeah.
And the little things like, being safe, traveling alone, those were points that were definitely talked about in your book that helped me gain confidence to go over and travel by myself.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. I'm like so excited to be hearing all this coming out of your mouth right now. I love it.
And it's also
like the best
true.
review.
Like, it's so true. I mean, I would have been so lost and unprepared if I would have packed up and went over there without reading this book.
And you probably would have had an extra suitcase, right?
I probably would have. I probably would not have just brought one pack, which I want to emphasize for people listening that have not traveled before. Checking a bag can be such a hassle, especially if you're going to a foreign country. Some of the people that I was traveling with had checked bags, and they had the airlines had lost them, and they didn't get them for 2 or 3 days. And it just, being in a foreign country, the communication is a lot, there's just so many things that it's just eliminate that extra baggage from yourself and just don't check a bag.
Mm-hmm. It is so
Why worry
helpful
about that?
Yeah. You're absolutely right about that. It's so liberating just to have
and it's so nice to know that everything you have and is right on your back.
That's awesome.
It's nice to have that just reassurance that I don't have to worry about getting to the baggage claim and finding my bag once I get there. It's just get off the plane and go.
Yep. We travel with just carry-ons whenever possible. So definitely understand.
Obviously when you can, but when, if you're going to go over somewhere for an extended period of time, that might not be an option. But if it is an option for you, I definitely suggest just using the backpack.
Well, that's great. That's really good advice. Take it from Andrea, people.
I know.
First-time traveler. She did it. She carried on only. You can do it
just
too.
one bag. Although on the way back, I had my pack full, and then I had another little backpack, and then I had my purse. So really, I was probably not
cheating.
supposed to. Yeah, I was.
Well, you made it. That's all right.
That's why the airlines are probably all strict now. They're like, well, that one chick.
Actually, on some of our trips too, we will carry on over, and then on the way back, since we know we're going to have, something extra, whether it be clothing or souvenirs or whatever, we'll plan to check one bag, because then you still only pay for it once and only risk losing the one. I've always gotten a bag back. They've never completely lost my bag, but it's still
just nerve-wracking. And your book was it just kind of sealed it for me. And so I packed better.
Yay, that's awesome.
I know.
I'm glad that it helped you.
Well, it did, because even just if I'm going for a 3-day weekend somewhere, I'm packing so much more than I need. And you just have to think about the big picture here. Are you really going to want to carry that stuff? And if you buy stuff, you're going to want to put it in that bag, And so I hope people can take that from me.
Yeah. So Did you, because I know you mentioned the safety thing, traveling alone as a female. And I do have, there is like an entire chapter. I think it's the biggest chapter in my book is the safety chapter, actually. But I want to ask you, was there any time that you did feel unsafe about traveling solo as a female that you were, when, not before, but when you were actually traveling, was there any time that you felt unsafe?
I always tell people when they ask about my trip, that's like the first question they ask me. Did you feel safe over there? And I always tell them I felt more safe there than I would walking around in a big city in the United States. I mean, I did feel, I trusted my gut. When I first landed in Chiang Mai and I was at a hostel and I went out and I was walking maybe for about 10 minutes and my gut was like, this is not good. And, I had my bag and I had, obviously had my purse with me, but I had my pack in the hostel and I was just like, I just don't feel right about this. And so I actually went back to the hostel and checked out and found another hotel. And, everything worked out, but it was just that moment that I just didn't feel safe about my surroundings.
Yeah. I actually love that happened to you because that's a great example. Is that you went with what you felt, like you went with what your gut told you.
And there was nothing wrong with the hostel. I mean, it was a very clean, nice hostel, but there was just something about that area that I was like, no.
And guess what? You removed yourself from the situation. Like that. Good for you for doing that because you may have prevented something. Who knows? But the point is that you had the decision and you decided to, make up your mind about it. And so good for you. That's awesome.
And like you said, who knows if something would have happened,
Right.
But I just wanted to eliminate that stress from myself. I would have been stressed out sleeping. I probably wouldn't have slept. There's just a lot of things that I was like, you know what? Just go somewhere else.
Yeah. And you know what? We have credit cards. And if you have to use it, you can, use it. I think we've all been in a situation where it's like, you know what? This one's just going to go on the credit card. Like, and in some situations, I mean, I've been in some places where I've paid like $3 a night to sleep somewhere and they've been really shady places. And for a mere $10 more, I could have been in a much better place. Oh yeah. And I mean, so sometimes it's not even that much of a sacrifice to just move, and just trust your gut. And I think
that's how it was for me. It was like the hostel was like $10 and then the place I went to was like $34. But that extra money that I paid was just like me and my like
peace of mind.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome.
So that was the only time I really felt unsafe. Other than that, I never felt a problem.
Good. I mean, honestly, that's what I was expecting you to say because really I think that's the answer more often than not is that no, you don't feel unsafe. And I mean, of course you gotta stay alert and keep your wits about you with your situation, just like you were, and you're going to be fine.
Like you're street smarts. Like if you don't feel good about a situation, remove yourself.
I like to say that common sense is your best defense because it really is no matter where you are.
Yep. No, that's true.
So moving on, now that you've done this trip, that you've been, that's been culminating for these last few years and now you finally did it. How do you feel now that you've taken that first step of traveling internationally?
It happened a couple months ago and it's still crazy to think that I went over there. I mean, I look at photos and I just will find random little souvenirs around my house. And it's like, wow, I know. It's just crazy to think that I did this. I feel just so much more confident traveling now, obviously. I mean, I feel like I could, go anywhere. But I think that for me, I just have a very different outlook on life now. It was a pretty big life-changing experience for me. Not that it was just my first time traveling abroad, but I definitely felt this connection with the people and the country. And just doing something for myself. It was one of the best things I've ever done. It definitely has changed just a lot about me.
Like what? What did you like? What?
Well, my new motto on life is simplify. And
Nice.
that just comes with, you know, just being over there and really having one backpack with everything I have in it just made me feel like I don't need the extra clutter and stuff. There are so many things that people buy and think that that will bring them happiness, and they don't really think like in the long run, I mean, is this new couch going to make me that happy? Where I just want to simplify my life. I want, you know, the people around me and, you know, where I'm living, my surroundings, you know, like that's what matters. And meeting these people over in Thailand, I mean, they don't have a lot, you know, I mean, they're not making a lot of money, but they were the happiest people. And like to see that, just, I loved it. And it was so refreshing.
That's
being
so
over
awesome.
there and having people so happy with nothing.
And you know what, Andrea? That's just the tip of the iceberg. As you continue to travel,
Yeah.
you're going to see that in a lot of places.
I'm sure. But it was just very refreshing. And so I just feel, you know, changed for the better, obviously. And I hope more amazing travel experiences to come.
And on that note, do you have any in the works? Where are you going next?
There's some talk about Belize.
Okay, awesome.
You know, it's
Yeah.
if I could travel more, obviously I would. But yeah, I kind of want to make it like a once a year, maybe 2 times if I can.
And do you mean when you say if you could travel more, you would? Are you talking about restrictions from job and finances, probably?
Yeah. Okay. I just have like this new passion for traveling.
That happens. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it's the travel bug.
That's what it is.
I definitely can't wait to see what comes. From traveling to Thailand and going by myself, I definitely feel like I'm so excited to go somewhere not with, you know, even though the group was such a great part of the trip, I'm just excited to like go somewhere without a group, you know, having them to rely on and for planning and whatnot. And like I said earlier, I cannot say enough good things about traveling with the group for your first time.
Right.
But I think that definitely gave me a confidence booster to go and explore and experience things by myself now.
Yeah. And sometimes, I mean, I started with a group essentially too, because I studied abroad, you know, and so it was structured for me. And it is really nice to have a structured thing to go abroad with the first time, and then to get the feel for it on your own. Because there's like, there is a bit of a learning curve to learning how to travel, even though that sounds strange. But once you get it, then it's like, okay, we can do this, and you know, I can stop holding your hand now, and so
it's like training wheels. It's like you know,
exactly, and then you can kick them to the curb and go
exactly and take off.
Yeah. So, what advice would you give to other people considering traveling for the first time? People who haven't traveled before. What advice would you give them?
I would just have to say, if it crosses your mind, just go. I mean,
love that.
Like, it seriously just needs to happen then. No time will ever be the right time to go. I mean, for me, it was just kind of like back and forth. Like, you know, I tell my friends, oh, I just need to go. I just need to go do this. I just need to go do a trip in general. You know, I need to go do something for myself. And that was for, you know, just like a couple of years. And I would just tell people, you will be so back and forth with yourself. Like, oh, I shouldn't go. My job, money, you know, my dog. Like, there's just a lot of different factors that come into play. But it's like, it will all work out. It will all work out for the best. Like, all the pieces will fall together, and just go, you know? I mean, the money situation, that will cross your mind. And, you know, everyone thinks that if I don't have a lot of money, I can't go travel. Well, that's really not the case, you know?
I do know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of holding me back for a while. And this book definitely helped that situation, you know, with saving and, you know, really putting your priorities straight. You know, if I'm at Target, do I really need those 4 dresses? No, because I would rather go buy something cool in Thailand.
Good job.
You know? And
that's
so
the
it's
perspective.
It's like the baby steps will get you there. People learn more from traveling than they do in school, and, you know, and you're going to remember this experience for the rest of your life. You will have this experience forever. If you share it with someone, awesome. But if not, if you're going to go by yourself, that's even more uplifting. Like it's awesome.
Just do it anyway. Don't let it hold you back. Yeah.
Just go. Don't let any like factors drag you down to think that you can't go, because it can happen.
Yes. I love it. Yay. It's so nice to hear you saying that. Really. It's great.
I know. Well, and it's like, I mean, I have a text message back to my family, like right when I landed in Seattle coming back, and I saved it on my phone, and it was saying, you know, this was the best thing I've ever done in my entire life. I will never forget this trip. I will never forget the people. You know, I still talk to the people every once in a while that I did this trip with. It just changed me forever. I just view things differently. I just really appreciate the little things. Mm-hmm. So advice would be go.
That's awesome. Well, I think that that's a great point to end, because we've actually got to wrap it up. But I love to end on that, actually, and give people some motivation, some inspiration to think about. So,
and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you. It's been great. Yeah. Well, we'll have to maybe get you talking about your future travels once you're like a, you know, pro world traveler. So,
I mean, that day will hopefully come soon.
It will. I think it'll come sooner than you probably think. So,
well, thank you, Jackie. And I love your book, and it helped me more than you will ever know.
Oh, yay. Thank you. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you so much.
Hey, yes. Thanks, Jackie.
All right. We'll talk to you later. Okay, Andrea?
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.
I just love that. Honestly, there isn't much better of a feeling than feeling like you're helping someone. And I'm sure that you guys understand that, but it's so true. I did not pay her to say that. I'm telling you guys that right now. All that about the book. But yeah, it's so great to hear that kind of feedback. And I love that after just one trip overseas, Andrea feels so much more confident to continue making travel happen in her life. She's already talking about, you know, making another trip happen, and just how she feels her life has changed for the better. That is such a great testimony from a first-time traveler to what travel has the capability of doing in your life. You just have to say yes to it. And just like Andrea said, if it crosses your mind, just go. And I love that, because I completely agree. So start to save the best you can and begin to face whatever fears you may have around travel. And on that note, I am going to take another minute to talk about the Aspiring Traveler's Handbook. And if you haven't heard of it before this episode, or even if you have fears about traveling or are unsure about the logistics of planning and preparation, this book was literally written for you by me. This book is what started my whole journey to blogging and eventually having this podcast even. It has 10 years of experience packed into 9 chapters of practical information for you. And we've been together for 10 episodes now, and I'm sure you feel that you're getting to know my style, and the book is definitely written in my style. And it just takes you step by step through the pre-departure process. So starting with how to properly choose a destination, to securing a visa or passport, to planning and getting the best deal on your flight, to budgeting. I get into budget accommodations and budget eating, how to find both of those. And then, of course, packing, which apparently helped Andrea a ton, which I believe less is more, which you heard us mention there. And then leaving everything behind. Like, what are you going to do with your stuff and your bills, all those things. And then I mentioned there's a chapter on safety, and it literally is the biggest chapter in the book. I give you every trick that I use on the road to keep myself and my valuables safe. And I also get into women traveling alone and the consequences of misusing alcohol abroad and all sorts of good safety tips. And I also give several options for how to get money when you're abroad. And like Andrea said, that really helped her out. What works the best and what ends up being the cheapest way to do it. And then there are other things like using your cell phone overseas, which you could also listen to episode 7 of this podcast for some great information on that. I also talk about using adapters and converters and getting travel insurance, running into visa issues, and I also give study abroad the mention that it deserves. And all of that is packed into this little handbook. And I mentioned before at the beginning of the episode that I have a gift for you, and this is where that comes in. You can get the Aspiring Traveler's Handbook on my blog at thebudgetmindedtraveler.com/book. It's there for sale for $19.99. And my gift to you today, to those of you specifically listening to this episode, is that I will cover the shipping costs if you use the discount code episode 10. So that's simply episode 10, no spaces, and use the number 10, not the word. So episode 10 will save you, I think it's almost $3 or $4 in shipping. And I myself will sign the book and ship it off to you, because my goal is to inspire and equip you to travel the world. And one of the best ways that I can do that is helping you prepare for a trip by means of my book. So if you're down, feel free to use the coupon code, go get the book, and get to your planning. And I cannot wait to hear where you're going to go. All right. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed getting to know Andrea a bit and listening to how she faced her fears and made her trip happen and came back changed and more confident because of it. And I hope that you can do the same thing. And just remember, no time is the right time, so you might as well just make it happen and just go. And as always, I will have the notes from this episode and the coupon code on my blog at thebudgetmindedtraveler.com/10 for episode 10. So you can find that there if you forget the coupon code. So thanks you guys again for spending this time with me today, and I will see you in the next episode. Just go.